What's going on, everybody? How's it going out there? Just want to show you how good my garden's doing right now, and also give you a quick tip on how to fertilize your garden for free in these crazy times. I went to the store to get some fertilizer for my trees and my plants, and I couldn't get the fertilizer I wanted for like 2 weeks because this whole coronavirus thing is messing up the shipping. I actually haven't used any store-bought fertilizer on my garden all year. It's only been compost and compost extract, and I've got great results with no extra fertilizers. But I did decide to buy a little bit of this one fertilizer called BioLive. It's from Down to Earth, and it's got like fish meal, crab meal, shrimp meal, kelp, langbonite, and I'm gonna use that primarily on my vegetable garden. Probably put a little on my fruit trees too, but it's not really that necessary because those things have a pretty deep root, and my compost works pretty well on those. So I'm gonna show you guys real quick my compost pile back over here, and I'm gonna grab some compost from it and make a compost extract. Here's my nice mulberry tree that I put in to shade this area back here. My wife wouldn't let me put in a fruiting mulberry, which would have been awesome, but at least it provides a lot of shade. And you can also chop the branches and use the leaves and the wood for ground cover. So I do that, and I plan on chopping some for my vegetable garden. Because another thing that we can't get right now is tree trimmings, wood chips from the tree cutting services. I don't know why they don't seem to be doing as much business right now with the coronavirus. Here's a fig tree on the side of my house that I have not shown yet. It's pretty giant. I actually planted this last year, and it's just gotten ridiculously huge. Oh, by the way, YouTube seems to be making it to where, I think because I don't have very many subscribers and I haven't been YouTubing for very long, the quality of my videos are set to like 360p or something like that. So if you just go into the options and choose 1080p, it will look a lot clearer and better. Alright, so I'm gonna grab this and I'll meet you guys in a second. Alright, so we're back over here next to my grapevines where I had the compost pile before. I wanted to prep the ground, get it a little more lively for some watermelon seeds that I just planted. And I also got this compost bucket full of good, delicious compost. Smells awesome. And if you notice, there's still chunks of stuff in here that's not broken down, but that's okay, because what we're gonna do here is take a couple handfuls and put it over here in an empty bucket. A couple big handfuls. See that worm? So there's all sorts of life in this compost, and that's what we want in our soil. If you think about it, with tons of life in your soil, microscopic life as well, everything's going to be eating and pooping all around your roots. So that poop is actually fertilizer for your plants. So what you want to do is actually first get the life in your soil, and then feed that life in the soil. And then that life will poop it out and feed your plants. Alright, so my hose has some hot water in it, so I'm going to spray some of that out first. We don't want to kill the life in the compost with super hot water. Alright, so now it's cooled down. So now all I'm going to do is fill this up, mix it around really well. I just clipped the hose on, so it's gonna, I got it kind of spinning. That mixes it really well. And then once it's all done, I'll give it a final mix, vigorous mix with a stick. See all that foam? That is from the life in the soil. That signifies that there's a lot of life in the soil. And if you can also notice the dark color of the water, that's humic acid. Okay. I had some stuff get stuck in my hose that was keeping it on, some wood chips. So I got that cleared out. So now I've got this liquid down here. And I'm gonna just mix it around with this stick in a circle, kind of get it spinning really good. What we're trying to do is release all the constituents of the compost into the water, so that then once you water this into your plant's roots, it takes all those little microscopic living beings down into your roots, along with the humic acid and fulvic acid and all sorts of other goodies, and it gets them into the roots. When you just put compost on the ground, it takes a while to get all the life down into the root zone, so this speeds up the whole process. Alright, so now that we have it mixed up, all we have to do is take it and pour it on our plants. Just slowly, go slowly, so that it goes where you want and it soaks in where you want it. What I like to do is go put a little bit on one plant, move to another plant, and then come back. So the benefits of compost extract are superior to the benefits of compost tea, I believe, because compost tea doesn't increase the numbers of everything in the compost. It primarily increases the numbers of bacteria, and you actually want more fungus and fungal activity from the compost. So with compost extracts, you get a more concentrated amount of a more balanced amount of everything. So with compost tea, you get less of the actual, you don't get fungal activity as much. It doesn't grow, the bacteria is growing in it, and then there's also a lot more humic acid and fulvic acid and other soluble nutrients that you get when you do a compost extract. So with compost extract, you're using a lot more of the compost per gallon of water, but I think the benefits far outweigh using compost tea. When you first start your garden, you're going to want to apply this more often, probably every 2 weeks at the maximum. Probably every week would be optimal. Now that I have my garden pretty well established and I've been applying compost extracts and using compost on my soil and mulching everything for, it's probably been 5 years since I started my garden, and I've been using those practices the whole time. I don't have to apply these techniques as often because the soil life is already thriving for the most part, especially with my trees. But I still like to apply it as often as I can. just because I notice a benefit every time I do it. It's not mandatory to have a great garden, but it definitely helps out. So when you start your garden though, you want to apply it a lot more often. So probably like once a week, once every 2 weeks at max. And that's in addition to putting ½ inch to 1 inch of compost on the top of the soil around your plants, and mulching everything well with either wood chips, straw, or whatever you have, tree leaves. But that'll get your soil going a lot faster than if you did not use compost extract or compost, obviously. And as far as how much you should use, it's really up to you. On bigger trees and plants, I use more, sometimes up to a full 5-gallon bucket for a tree. And for something like a tomato bush, maybe a ½ gallon bucket overall. And I'll put a little bit on at a time so that it doesn't overflow over the soil and kind of evaporate and not go where it should go. But you can put as much as you want, and it will not hurt your plants. It will only do good for your plants. And that's what I am here to show you, how to make your plants awesome.